when two women meet and they're strangers, so start talking and they quickly get down to, are you married, have you kids?
Yeah.
Men don't. Men will talk about football, politics, work.
Hello and welcome to Mind Blowing. I'm Siobhan Ryan.
And I'm Paul Gill. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about your self-concept. And for those of you who don't know what that is, because it was a foreign term to me when I heard it first, when I started studying hypnosis and psychotherapy, it was about how you feel that you are yourself. What are you? Who are you? And isn't it interesting, because when you ask somebody who are you, they'll give you their name.
I'm Siobhan Ryan, and I'm so many children and whatever. And
that's, you've done the female thing.
Yeah.
Your sense of identity is wrapped up in your kids.
Yes.
And women do that. And you'll notice this: when two women meet and they're strangers, so start talking and they quickly get down to, are you married, have you kids?
Yeah.
Men don't. Men will talk about football, politics, work. Maybe down the line they kind of go, oh yeah, how many kids? Well, I don't know, these little people at home. Yeah, maybe they're kids. I don't know.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Little turds.
They're running around the place. Yeah, that's where my money's gone. Yeah, I must have kids. Yeah, I'll ask myself. Oh, I forgot. I'm married. Yes. I'm joking. But there is a difference in the sex there. But getting down to like beyond your name, your first name was given to you at birth. For whatever reason, I just called after, I think it was Paul was involved back then, because I was born in the mid-60s. I think it was Paul. Yeah. I'm just glad it was him and not Leo.
Benedict.
Pius. Benedict Pius Paul, you know. But even then, Siobhan, when you get down to this surname, your family name, you were born into that family. You inherit the history and the identity of that family.
Yeah. A lot of my family didn't have a good name
until you were born.
Until I came along, exactly. And then it just went to shit. But I do remember being, really excited about changing my name when I got married, because
did you not like
I wanted to leave my past behind me.
Oh, so this was why.
Yeah.
So did you get married to escape your past?
Yes. Totally.
Actually, that's different from men too, because men don't change their name when they get married, and there's a trend now, I think, where a lot of women are keeping their name, maybe even a double-barreled name.
Yeah. It started off with that, didn't it?
Yeah.
They have the double-barrel name, and now they keep their own, and some husbands take on the wife's name.
What would you do though if you married somebody with a double-barrel name and you had a double-barrel name already?
Oh, yeah.
Have you quadruple-barrel's name?
Yeah. I often wonder how that would work then with children. What are the names of the children? But then you look at different cultures, like in India and Africa, and some of those different countries, they have so many names. Or in Spain, there's Spain or Mexico or some of those. If anybody knows, there's clarity on this, let us know down below. But they could have 40 names.
You see, that's similar to an Irish thing, especially out in Connemara and Galway.
Okay.
You can be Peggy Marching Podrick.
Oh, yeah.
Marching is your father and Podrick was your grandfather.
Yeah.
And you're different from Peggy Marching Seamus. So several people might have similar names.
Yeah. And
you know them by their lineage. But people didn't have surnames. Surnames was a kind of a recent enough thing. I think it was in medieval times people started using the surnames.
Really?
Yeah. Your surname got to do with maybe the job you did if you became baker. Or Smith. Or
Smith.
Yeah. Or even where you were from. You took the location.
Yeah.
So your sense of identity, when you get beneath your name, both parts of your name, your first name and your surname, who are you?
Yeah.
And then people kind of fall back on, what do I do? Or what are my values? I suppose is where we need to go with this.
Yeah. It's deeper, isn't it? It's into your beliefs, your values, your core beliefs. So we talk about this a lot in therapy, actually, a person's core belief. And what we mean by that is, what do you really think about yourself? Who are you at your deepest level?
Yeah, or simply, are you a good person?
What are your deepest secrets as well?
I know you don't get to secrets yet.
The shadow. We kind of like the shadow side. Yeah.
So but it scares somebody if you get into that.
So it sounds a bit eerie, but it's not really. It's more the side that you don't show the world.
It's the dark side if you're a Star Wars fan.
dark nature.
Yeah, embrace your dark side.
Yeah, it's the things that, it's maybe when you feel angry or disappointed,
Yeah.
or
All
maybe
valid
you walk
feelings.
behind somebody's back, and you do things that are not acceptable or not considered nice.
Yeah.
And we all have that part.
You're
to
less
us.
tolerant, and that's a really useful part.
Yeah,
Because
we need
it gets
for
things done.
Yeah.
Gets things done.
It
Absolutely.
can, yeah, absolutely. It can defend us as well and keep us safe in lots of ways as well. So all parts are valid.
So I remember I had to write an essay on my self-concept.
Oh, interesting.
It took me. Normally, it was kind of just get straight into it, but this, I couldn't jump straight into it. I remember asking the tutor about it, and he said, "Well, here's a book of essays what other people have written about the self-concept." So I read all of them and kind of, okay, I don't know. And it still took me about a month to write this essay, and I was writing it in a way I hope this is satisfactory. I hope it's pleasing to the tutor. But really, the tutor was never going to critique it in that way.
Yeah.
They were never going to say whether it's good or bad. But it'd be looking for
There's
your own understanding of who it is that you are, and that understanding is whatever it is. But it got me then thinking that we have this self-concept that exists just in our own heads. If you were to ask somebody else, who do they think you are? You get a different answer. Yeah. Nobody shares your own view of you that you have. Isn't that interesting? So if your self-esteem or your internal dialogue that we touched on in the previous podcast is a negative, you assume that other people are viewing you through the same lens. Yeah. And they're not necessarily.
Yeah, it's hilarious actually that sometimes we view ourselves as being way more good, I suppose, than we actually are.
Yeah, you remind me of something I heard that 70% of people view themselves as being above average.
Yeah.
And that can't be possible. Is that physically possible?
Yeah.
70% of people think that they're above average lovers or connoisseurs of wine.
Oh my God.
And we have this. It's out of touch really with how we really are.
And you have the narcissists of society.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever met a narcissist?
Yeah.
Scary people, really, because they think they're so up there and overall. And I've known a few, not many. I've probably only met a few in my lifetime, I'd say, that were really truly.
I found that you don't confront them, because you could argue. Yeah. I could sit with somebody and argue and point out things, but they're never going to accept it.
It's just going to be really due time, I think.
They're entrenched in their position. Yeah. And that's fine. You kind of go, I'm just wasting my breath here. I just end up getting frustrated and let them off.
But they're dreadful people to live with, actually.
Yeah.
I've known a lot of people who've broken out of narcissistic relationships with people who just do not admit that they're wrong in any way at all. And it's always the other person's fault or their shortcomings.
I live by the philosophy that we're all flawed.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm constantly self-improving.
Yeah.
I'm constantly looking at ways to...
You find something, you thought this needs to be improved upon, and you work it, and you continue to work at it. Yeah. But you can have this fantasy self.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
And to me, it's a form of escapism.
Yeah.
To get away from your self-concept of who you are, who your family says you are, who society says you are.
Yeah.
And you can live in your head as this Walter Mitty kind of character who's got this fantasy life who believes he's something more than what he actually is. So you can be a superhero. I think
that can kind of transpire, though. Maybe not into being an actual superhero, but they say that you should always think outside the box for yourself and
what do you do in
create your best life. That's a good question, actually. We're not having boxes, Paul.
Yeah. We do. We have our cages and our limitations that sometimes we're unaware of. I heard it again yesterday. It's something that I heard years ago. Fish are the last creatures to know that they're swimming in water. There's a story where this fish is swimming along. He meets two other fish swimming in the opposite direction. And he goes, "Morning, guys. Water's lovely." Swims off. When he's gone, the other two fish goes, "Doesn't mean water." So we can be living in our circumstances and our situations and how we are and be blissfully unaware of it. But I think for people like me and you who are in this profession, we're always looking.
Yeah, we're always
so we'll find it.
Yeah.
You might like what you find, but at least you'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
I think that's the plight of being a therapist. Any therapist listening in, there's no plight around our career. You're constantly having to change and reinvent yourself, and work out those issues. I think the one thing that it comes to me is like when a client comes in and they reflect something to me, and the next thing it impacts on me, and I realise, Jesus, I haven't dealt with that.
Oh, yeah.
I need to get on to
Get
that.
you blindsided.
This is why we love my supervisor. He's amazing. It's like, Jesus, John, I think reaction to this thing, or whatever it is, and it's just a great way to constantly improve yourself.
But you see, that's the fail-safe system. You have the supervisor, you have somebody you can go to. You don't just kind of bury it. You don't kind of go, I'm going to the pub after work and then I'm going home. I'm not going to think about this.
Yeah. Which is what most people do.
A lot of people do.
Bury it.
Or sit down and fix it, tell you, and I'm not going to think about it.
Yeah.
So we can be grateful even though it's uncomfortable when somebody brings up issues in ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's go through our own self-concept.
Exactly.
But I find too, and this is an observation, that I think your self-concept, up until you realize you have a self-concept, you haven't been working on it. But then when you realize that you do, when you see stuff that's wrong and you start working on it. But I do think our self-concept becomes more fixed as we age.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're so impressionable as a child. And I see that there's lovely work to be done in therapy and even work with teenagers, because their minds are so open, their heart is open, especially with your kids.
Well, I think too, like your teenage years and your early 20s, you have much more potential, many more options. I think you get locked into a way of living, whether you get married, have a family, kids, paying a mortgage, and that defines who you are for a bulk of your life.
Because it tends to cause a lot of stress.
It can do.
Those things, those responsibilities can be very heavy on someone, especially if we overdo it financially.
Yeah.
Loans and things like that can be very heavy on people. But I think then as children, people will say, oh, I have terrible childhood, and that's why I'm so miserable now, or why I can't form a connection or bond or whatever. To me, it's no excuse. You can change. You have a choice when you become an adult. You can change who you are if you want.
First part of change is an awareness that something needs to be changed.
Absolutely.
And if you react the same way as you've always been reacting to that thing, you won't get any change. And you can go, I'll try a few different reactions, even if I just try them on.
Yes,
see how they fit.
Like faking those.
Faking it till you make it.
Yeah. I really do think that's the key.
But it actually defines too, I remember I wouldn't have been top of the class in school. I wasn't bottom of the class either. A little bit of a mess or a bit of a dosser from time to time.
Really?
But yeah, I know it's unbelievable, Siobhan, when you look at me now. But I could excel when I wanted to, and I did. I was really good at certain things.
Yeah.
So if I kind of put my head down, I could just excel.
Do it.
But I remember at a class reunion years ago, meeting my local schoolmaster. And I just liked him, really liked him. And he was the first schoolmaster we had, there were older teachers, I suppose, before that. But he used to come out and play football with us in the backyard.
Oh,
and I really had a lot of respect for that,
And
it was going to be a bit of crack with him. But he was still disciplined. Yeah, it was. And he was very much in touch with how to school kids. But I remember meeting him all these years later. And he goes, oh, okay, I've got you looking well. What are you doing this thing? I said, oh yeah, sorry. I said, I always knew you'd make something of yourself. I said, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. And he said, I knew you. He said, you were different. He said, so it's not an insult. Different.
Yeah.
He said, you were different.
Yeah, you were different.
And he said, I knew you'd make something of yourself. And I said, that's lovely.
Yeah, that was really nice, definitely.
Yeah, but sometimes you can get locked into the way you think you are in school and the way other people see you as the class messer or the one who's always in trouble or giving attention. And I think comes back to yourself.
For me, moving from national school into secondary school was a huge boost in my confidence, because I met teachers who didn't have a label on me yet, and I was actually really studious in secondary school for the first 2-3 years.
Just got smoking and drinking.
Exactly. That's
Vices.
Vices, yes, absolutely. But before that, my self-concept was I was stupid and I couldn't learn, I couldn't read, I couldn't spell. I was no good, academically. But then when I got into first year, I was actually really good at history and geography and economics and music, and there's loads of subjects that I was actually quite brilliant at.
Yeah.
And got top marks in science and everything, A's all the way. Things that I really loved and got on with that, and having different teachers made a big difference to my self-concept, I have to say.
Yeah.
Like I saw a new part of myself. So even though I still couldn't read out loud in front of people or anything like that, and my spelling was atrocious.
Yeah.
I was still getting
isn't it the teacher, Siobhan? Because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I forget the details of who this lady was. But she helps people with neurohacking, hacking their minds. But she was saying, I think it was by the age of 8, she couldn't read. She'd been covering it up, or maybe even memorizing bits of stuff. But she was kind of really worried. And when it was discovered, anyway, she was put in touch with this teacher. Said it just happened to be, look, the way that this teacher approached the subject and how she was, whether she was dyslexic or ADHD or whatever, but she went from being the worst in the class to being the best in the class for the year, and then she really excelled and has kept excelling because she just found the right combination of the person who wasn't going to tell her you're stupid, but you can do this.
Yes, definitely. Somebody who's able to bring them on.
So your self-concept can be changed, and indeed it should be changed, and if it's not changing, you're stagnated.
Yeah, definitely.
If you don't know how to change it yourself, I would suggest you can expose your mind to self-help podcasts, books. It doesn't have to be necessarily something, because I listen to a range of podcasts on philosophy, religion, science.
Anything in the personal development.
Anything.
Really.
Or you can come to a coach or a therapist. Begin to work through why you think you are the person that you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there's an issue or a problem or a deficit in that, you can decide, well, where do I want to go with this? Again, it fits in with the podcast we did previously about goals.
Yeah.
You identify a deficit. What's the antidote? What's the solution?
Yeah.
Where you want to go. So you're not stuck.
Yeah, exactly. A handy little exercise I regularly give my clients would be just to write down a letter to themselves about how their life is right now, and then how they'd like to see it in the future. So you write back to yourself saying, now that I've achieved all these things, this is how I feel, and you're going to get through things. And sometimes I get them to do a pros and cons list about different situations in their life. So people are questioning maybe a relationship or a job or something like that. Pros and cons is a great way to figure out whether it's right for you or not. It certainly helps with decision making.
It does, because I find that most of the time we don't have a problem situation and we give out about.
Yeah, I don't do anything.
It's much more scientific or factual to get them actually analysing right down what's right about this, what's wrong about this.
Really think about it.
Like, what outcome do I want? And if you did read that letter in 3, 4, 5 years' time, and the same situation exists, you can go, well, what have I been doing? Yeah, and what is the pattern that keeps me enslaved? But the long and short of it is that you're not stuck with it.
Yeah.
You can get out of it.
Absolutely.
So you've been listening to Mindlaw. Like, share, subscribe, download, and
be sure to give us a comment down below.
Comment down below
if there's anything that you'd like us to talk about.
Okay.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.